If you were born into a billionaire family, what would happen? Every morning, you would wake up in a mansion with more rooms than you could count. A private chef would place an exquisite breakfast in front of you. The crib you slept in would cost more than most cars. Everything you wanted would appear the moment you desired it. At the age of 10, you would enter a top private school where every student's parents were wealthy. Your father would gift you a child-sized Formula One race car. You could race any time on your private track. Your life would seem filled with endless fun. At 20, you would host grand parties every week. The supercars at home would be as numerous as toys. You and your friends would travel constantly between countries. Life would feel happier than ever. At 30, you would sit alone in your mansion, surrounded by supercars you never drive. Your friends would only call when they needed something. When everything can be bought, you might find there is nothing left worth pursuing. At 40, you would open a dog shelter. Every day you would clean the kennels. The dogs would not care how much money you have. You would rather mop the floor than keep buying more things. Finally, you would discover the meaning of life, a purpose that money cannot buy. But what if you grew up in a war zone? At 1 year old, sirens would replace lullabies. The walls would shake every night. Dust would be the first air you breathe. Before you even learn to say mama, fear would become the first emotion your body understands. At 3, silence would frighten you. Distant explosions and the smell of gunpowder would become normal. Hiding would feel safer than laughing. At 7, your school would be reduced to ruins. Friends would disappear one by one. Hope would become a luxury. Gunfire would tear through the sky. At 12, you would barely sleep. Trust could have deadly consequences. Your heart would remain constantly tense. One wrong step, a flash of light, a wave of heat, or even sudden silence. War could take you away at any moment. And what if you grew up during the Ice Age? At 1 year old, you would survive brutal winters. Living on high-calorie diets of raw marrow and fat would reshape your metabolism. At 5, your strength would rival that of a modern adult. Your bones would be thick and your muscles incredibly dense. Here, you must learn to survive, or nature would erase you. At 12, you would join your first hunt. You would stare into the eyes of a mammoth, betting your life on a spear. One mistake could mean the end of your story. At 20, you would become a perfect biological tank. Your bones would be 30% thicker than those of modern humans. You would no longer be a victim of the freezing environment, but the ultimate predator of this icy land. Yet even so, in the end, you would still lose to the land itself.